We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes beyond the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by Cosmo Mom 09, Rachel Burt, Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, and Bridget, ko-fi.com/Punky Brewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER. And today we're here to talk about The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live's 5th episode of its first season, titled Become. I thought that was the last episode. Just kidding. Anyway, but it was A come.
Stop it.
That was anus.
Stop.
Wow.
Well, from
all the
an
anus.
anus.
Yeah.
X
Oh my
marks
gosh.
the spot.
We're already canceled.
Now we have an M. In this
2 minutes
episode.
in and we're
Anyway,
canceled.
we have merch in the merch store. We have both our logo design, they're the ones who squawk, as well as an art design, which took quite a while.
Forever.
But for good reason, because it looks
he won't
amazing.
stop needling because he's
Oh
just
my
got
goodness.
a needle.
Because-
He's like, I put an
needle.
extra line right here in the bottom corner. Do you see that line right there?
What's the alternative? Ruling by fiat, I say nay. I say all of you have a say in the design that I create that none of you do.
It was great.
Except
All
when
the
you give your
versions were
opinion,
great.
and then I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I made a decision.
I've
And
made
just,
an executive.
And just like while we're
Yeah.
recording,
Yeah.
here's why you're wrong.
Here's why I'm wrong.
So every time Dave was like, I need your feedback, I was like, yeah, I give the feedback on that. I tried already.
Yes, Dave, it looks nice.
What he means by I need your feedback is tell me it's amazing.
Yep.
Yes. Or
Tell me it's perfect.
I refuse. I said I'm not
Like,
responding
look
to
at how
this.
fragile Bridget is. The second I don't take her advice, she's like, I'm never going to give advice again.
No, I was like, I'm not doing this with you. I'm not doing this with you right now.
One time.
If you say, "Oh, Dave, it's nice." Well, what is it that's nice? Is there something I should change? What do you like about it?
I was like,
Why isn't it fantastic?
I threw my arms up and I was like, not this time, Dave. Not
because
this
our people need to see that it's fantastic as
Not
well.
today,
And I don't
Satan.
trust- I don't trust
It is
myself.
Not
fantastic.
today.
I'm not a creative person per se, so sometimes I need that little bit of a juice to squeeze from the art that I'm trying to create. But anyway, it's there. It's for your discretion as well as consumption. So
Buy
go
it
ahead.
so Dave feels validated.
Yes,
Yeah.
buy it
We have so many designs.
just to assuage my
Arguably-
feelings.
Too many.
Yeah. Head over to squawkingdead.com, click the main menu on the top left and choose merch. It's right there at the top, as well as our other designs from The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon
So many designs.
and The Walking Dead Dead City, the logo and art designs for both. And you may even prefer the logo design for The Ones Who Squawk instead of the art design, which is fine. It's a cool, you know what? It's very nice to hear, unprompted. It was a cool idea. It was a cool concept. And I went with it and it worked. Lightning sometimes does strike twice, except for the second time where I asked for feedback and I didn't really get
Sometimes 3 times.
No.
Ask
because
Martha
I hurt
Stewart.
Bridget's feelings that one
No.
time.
Because I was like, shut up,
Never
Dave.
again. Never again. I
No,
don't like
just
the
on
red
this
in the-
one. Just on this one. Because I was like, all I was going to say was, take the red out. And I was like, and he's going to be like, no, I already made this decision. And I was
Take
going
the
to be like,
red
"See,
out."
this is why there's no point in
Yeah.
having this
There's no
conversation.
point. There's no
You
point.
knew what was going to happen. So that's why I didn't say anything.
You felt it coming though.
It's perfect, Dave. It's perfect. It's
Thanks.
perfect.
Thanks, Sharon D.
Before we move on, I would like to give a quick shout out that we should have given in our last recording. Happy birthday to our fellow podcaster, Eliza from Relishing the Dead.
Yes.
Yeah,
Our
it was in between
birthday.
podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So happy birthday, Eliza. I hope you enjoyed your lovely video that you got from Aiden.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Happy
I've yet to watch
birthday.
it.
It's so cute.
It was really good.
So
Aiden
busy.
did a great job.
He
Yeah,
did.
Aiden Atkin, who's also a Whispers tier member, and Lisa Jones is a Survivors tier member. You know what I realized? She hasn't come on the show because A, she has her own show, but B, she just told me, I don't do the Discord. And I'm like, all right, fine. I don't do the Discord. All right, fine.
I don't blame her.
The Discord.
Anyway, happy birthday, Eliza.
Yes,
Yes,
happy birthday,
happy
Lisa.
birthday.
Doesn't do the Discord. We love you.
And we understand why.
When we miss you on the shows and things, I was very pleased to see on my own smart TV. Do all of you have smart TVs? Do you watch through your smart TV?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
do not. I have a Roku.
What I was pleased to see, and Roku has a similar thing, I think, is that in the menu, sometimes they'll show you like an ad for a show. or something like
Mhm.
that. So on my smart TV, I was very pleased to see. I hit the home, and all of a sudden, on the left margin, a little vertical ad came up, and it was for The Ones Who Live. And I was like, this show is doing so good that they're like, you know what? Let's advertise on smart TVs too.
Yeah.
So it's. You think it's innocuous, but it's interesting
big
to
deal.
see. We haven't
It's a big
seen stuff
deal.
like that in a long time.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
the Walking Dead universe is what I'm saying.
I've been doing surveys when I'm sitting here doing nothing. You make a few dollars here and there. I've been getting a lot of TV and movie ones, and they actually have The Ones Who Live asking me questions about it. I was like, yes, something I know
That's
about.
cool.
Do you think Rick and Rashawn have chemistry? No.
Uh-oh.
Oh no! Not this again, Dave. Not this again.
That wasn't me. I'm being Sharon D in this scenario. Just a disclaimer. We all hurriedly watched this episode because we didn't have screeners for this episode. And it's no wonder why we didn't get screeners for this episode.
That's
because
what we
it
were just
opens
talking about before you came on, Dave, was
with our lovely father,
no
Gabriel.
wonder.
Exactly. And I'm hot for Preacher all
In
over
my
again.
notes, I just have Gabriel written in big block letters with an exclamation point.
Gabriel, heading 1.
Yeah.
Well,
Notes
it made me
I wrote
laugh
in my
because
head.
it made me think of Suddenly Seth. Because
We have a little chat for our upcoming. Well, actually, it's been a year round the camp chat
Yeah.
with a bunch of people we hang out with at the camp, which is an event that happens in Peachtree City, the Hilton at Peachtree City, on Memorial Day weekend, which is coming. And I think it was Jessica and Eliza have this joke about Seth where we'll just randomly see him around.
Oh, yeah.
And it's suddenly Seth shows up and he wasn't invited. He came by the camp last year. He wasn't invited as official guest, but he came by. Suddenly Seth. Anyway, that's
He's
his
everywhere.
nickname.
He is
And
everywhere.
like on this episode,
My first camp that I went to, I saw him at Nick and Norman's. And then the next, I don't know, couple hours later, we saw him at the hotel. And then the next day, we saw him somewhere out again. It was like, well, there he is again.
he just
He's
shows up.
everywhere.
just
He's a-
Suddenly Seth, he just pops up.
You know who also is everywhere? God. I see a correlation, everybody. if you believe in that sort of thing.
I do. I like it.
You paused for a second though. I was just like, oh, is this gonna go over well? I don't
I was
know.
like,
Are you calling Seth God?
just
Excuse me.
surprised me. It took me by surprise, Dave. I was like,
Me too.
okay,
Acceptable. Okay.
Well, I mean, maybe he is the representation of God in the show.
he's the clergyman. That's our representation of religion.
I was so worried that Jadis was going to kill him, and I was trying to figure out the
was
timeline.
too.
Is this after
So-
we saw, or because we know he's alive after, right? And then earlier, Jadis had said, "I killed someone that I cared about," and I was like, "Oh,
I killed a confidant. That's what she says, a confidant.
All right.
And I was like, ooh.
Of course, it was Huck, as we find out later.
Miss
Mhm.
Jennifer Malik. Yeah.
But I was like, "Oh my God, she's going to kill." Oh no, Rachel's going to freak out.
It was my fear also.
Wait,
I love
it's not
him.
Jerry, so she's not gonna freak. I'm the one who would freak out.
No, because Rachel always said that she was like, "Oh, I don't care about Father Gabriel." And then when he was about to die in season 11, she was like, "No,
Wait a minute. Wait. I have all these feelings I can't comprehend right now. What is happening?
Was this at the gates of the Commonwealth? Was it? Is that what it
No,
was?
it was the tower, wasn't it?
It
Oh,
was the
that's season
tower."
10.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
season
was the
10.
tower.
Sorry,
16.
season 10.
Yeah.
While I was watching this episode, my husband is often lurking in the background to make color commentary throughout. Even though he's got no investment in the episode, but he'll make plenty of comments during.
Second episode in a row. Shallow
So-
human being for Michonne's helmet. Football helmet.
No, he's always there. He's always made color commentary.
He's like God too.
but
God is
so-
comedian.
Ball 2,
so-
Ball 4.
He said that in Fallout 4, there's a character that is like a priest who has a church who locks all of his parishioners out
Ooh, and Fallout came first.
and writes on the wall, "God forgive me."
Ooh.
Yeah, anyway.
Ooh.
Yeah, in all of the comments, I guess people were like, gosh, this is like exactly like Father Gabriel in The Walking Dead. But it's just interesting because we've been talking about Fallout because of the TV show coming out.
Which
I'm
Charity, you mentioned.
super interested in because it looks really good.
I want to play the game. I'm yay old.
I'm going into it with no knowledge of the game whatsoever, so
When we try a video game to television or movie series, it's often not great. Last of Us was kind of an exception, but even
Well,
that had its
but
moments that
maybe
didn't,
The Last of Us
know?
was a new beginning for video game based things because they finally were like, hey, you can make it good and people will still enjoy it. It doesn't have to be exactly the game.
I think it depends on the creators.
It depends
and
on the
how it's
game,
written
too.
and
Depends on the game.
well,
Like Twisted Metal did okay. It was like an okay show, but that wasn't Twisted
compared
Metal.
to the game, they were like, it's
Yeah.
too different.
Well, they just gave it
See,
a
I
lore.
never played the
Yeah.
game, so I really I
Right.
enjoyed the show, but I had nothing to compare it to. I
Right.
had no basis going
And
in.
then
So.
I know the Halo show has been kind of
Whew, I love
like
it.
I
See,
think it's
I
good.
played Halo,
but I
but I
didn't
haven't
play
watched the show
Halo.
yet.
Yeah, I
And
haven't
it's-
played
did.
Halo,
Yeah.
so it was
I
neat.
played Halo.
You do like it then, Dave? From
It
that
follows
perspective?
fairly closely to the
Okay.
source material. However, I love the changes. It's massive. You're playing as Master Chief in the game, but there's all these other Spartans as well that are in the show that are relatable to him. But visually, the show is intense.
Yeah.
It's very well filmed. It's cinematically thoughtful.
I
And
liked
it's
it.
obvious
I
they have
thought
a lot
it's-
of money poured into it too.
Yes, I think it's very well done, but I didn't play Halo. Was I okay with it because I hadn't played it, or
I wanted to talk about the beginning when you see Father Gabriel walking. That reminded me so much of
Okay.
Morgan. For a minute, I thought it was going to be Morgan. They showed the
Yeah.
feet just like they did at Fear when Morgan was coming on.
Oh,
And when they
yeah.
showed him from behind, he was looking a whole lot like Morgan.
I thought it was Jadis at first. And then at the cabin, you thought it was Gabriel for a hot sec because it couldn't be Jadis. How could it be? And yet it was.
I also thought that scene was going to be Gabe too, but I
Like,
was
you
shocked.
knew it was going to be Jadis,
Honestly,
but
when I saw
how?
well, yeah. I don't know. I thought it was going to be Gabe just because of how the beginning started. And I was like, oh,
Right.
what? They're going to. And then I'm like, no, they're so far away right now. There's no possible way. I was shocked to see Gabe in the beginning because when they were just showing this body, I'm like, oh, great. Another character that they're going to introduce and kill off immediately.
Well, yeah. Oof.
So when I saw someone I recognized, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
So we're all in agreement that this was a very pleasant surprise. And now
Yeah.
we're going to be seeing him at the camp. Now we're going to confront him. We're going to see Pollyanna McIntosh at the camp. And we're going to be like,
Yup.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the first thing I want to say to her is just this.
Oh.
Just this.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Just such a good job this
I'm
episode.
so disappointed because they literally killed half of the reason I was interested in this show. Off.
It's all about you. I happen to like the way it all went down. I'm glad that there was a sort of Rick and Michonne taking her last confession, in a sense, on the day I think Father Gabriel and she were supposed to meet, too.
Mhm. Very
That it
close.
was supposed
if
to
not
happen
the
this
day.
way.
I think that her being able to track them through ramen wrappers and dead walkers is very sketchy. Also, they're being followed or they're still worried about being caught because they don't know. They could still be being tracked. It's pretty careless to just leave wrappers and stuff laying around. But anyway,
I
either
was
way,
more
it's sketchy.
surprised that they would have left those things behind. I was like, really, guys?
I just thought it was
Really?
I thought it was supposed to be such a sign of how happy they are to be together and free, that it's like the kissing, the moments to be able to steal away
The
with each
stopping
other.
of time. Yeah.
Mm.
It's like they forget about the rest of the world. And so to me, that's kind of what that seemed like, was just sloppiness because we're so excited and so happy to be together that we're just living in a different world.
Yeah, I could see that. That makes sense. It also reminded me of when Felix and Huck were tracking the kids in World Beyond. They were following the tin cans and all their, leftover food garbage.
But that was on
That
purpose.
was cute.
That was
Yeah.
that was Hope leaving breadcrumbs behind purposely.
Those were dumbass,
True, that was on
inexperienced
purpose.
kids. Michonne and Rick are experienced and have lived in this.
Yeah.
They should know better. But
But you
like I
forget that Hope was being intentional with leaving the breadcrumbs
Yeah,
behind.
that too. But even still, they were inexperienced, dumbass kids
Right,
who didn't
right.
have any idea. Also, they didn't know they were being followed either.
Hope was hoping that
She was
Hope
hoping.
Let's jump to this too, because I was very pleased to see World Beyond flashbacks. There was something very validating for us as fans who really took the time to try and understand their motivations and
is
really
why you should watch it.
appreciate the show. I can see the point of view of someone who watched the shows and went, this is awful. I don't agree with it, but I can see somebody not liking it. However, for those of us who really did dig into them trying to create their own story while maintaining themselves in the universe and having ancillary connections to the greater narrative, I appreciated it.
I'll admit I struggled with the first season. I was one of those people that's like, what is this CW garbage?
Quote, TM.
It's not CW, it's CRM.
It's CWM, which I don't even know what that stands for.
It felt like it wasn't for me, which is fine. Like, not everything has to be. So I was like, okay, this is just isn't for me. This is for the younger generation or whatever. But by the end of season 2, I was like, yeah, I like this show.
Well, it made sense because I think one of the first things that we said a few episodes into season 2 was the first season felt like the light side and the second season felt like the dark side. The first season felt like you growing up and seeing the world a certain way, and the second season was you seeing what it actually looks like. Just like you being a teenager, realizing that this world isn't what I thought, rainbows and unicorns, and I could be anything I want to be. Well, it turns out I can't. And you see a little of that in this episode as well. Something that I was concerned about in the last episode was the tension between, and Jada says this out loud, it's about keeping your humanity or saving humanity, and it's a choice. Meaning, you be who you want to be or who you were meant to be while maintaining your humanity, or you do away with your humanity in order to save humanity. The idea that, well, do we go with what's his name said in Aim for the Head podcast, the greater good, or do you embrace your individuality? And she says yes, and it's a choice. It's not that you don't have a choice. It is a choice. I chose. I just like that they touched on it, and it's going to continue with the echelon briefing. It's going to continue to be a theme, that this tension, this idea of, am I who I was meant to be, or for the sake of future generations, do I have to give it up? And it ties into the sign outside the trail,
Protect the people
too.
from the people.
Right.
Oh.
Which Michonne takes as a message. She says,
I don't understand why it has to be one or the other. I feel like I would be trying to find a path where I can keep my humanity and save humanity. That would be my choice.
and that's the end of the episode. What does
Yeah.
Michonne decide to do? Well, we're not only going to take down the CRM, we're going to show the CR what the CRM's been up to, and then they're going to decide. It's kind of like Rick's speech to everybody. Was it after or during the prison? And he said he's done this a couple times, even on season 8. Maggie, it's your turn to lead, something like that. But
Just
it's the idea that it's not a dictatorship. It is a dictatorship. It isn't a dictatorship.
Does
anymore.
the city have an army? They go and they
Like a
show
militia?
the CR what the CRM is doing, but what exactly is the CR going to do about it? Because the CRM has all of the weapons and the weaponry and trained army. So what exactly is the CR going to do about it? Okay, Michonne, but have you really thought this out? But what does she know really? Because she was there, what, a week? I don't see what the CR is going to do about it if the CRM has all of the military and all of the weapons.
Well, what good is it to force people that are under your care? We're going to drag you into this plan kicking and screaming. But if everybody isn't on board, or most people aren't on board with the CRM's plan, well, what good is your plan? Abandon it. These are the people whom you claim are the ones that fall under the last light. So what's the point? If nobody's going to follow your plan
Then they'll just kill everybody and start over. So
from scratch,
they could wipe out the CR easily and just survive as the CRM.
you bring up something actually that's very interesting. And could they do that? Portland could be their backup plan for all we know.
We know there's other communities out there too.
Well, and the biggest one being Portland right now.
The CR could go to smaller settlements and be like, hey, do you want to be part of this or whatever? Well, they don't have to know where they're at.
Well, you're missing the big point. The big point is, I think most of us keep thinking that Cascadia Forward Operating Base is all about spying on Portland. But we keep ignoring the fact that the CR's newspaper is calling them out. The folks in the CR are protesting in the park. People are getting a little bit sus. But what if they're making Portland their backup plan? What if they're going to approach Portland and say, hey, we'd like to include you? Maybe they show them the echelon briefing and in good faith, rather than the CR, who's maybe soured on the CRM, especially because they haven't given up the mantle just yet. It's been 11 years. It's like subverting our expectations of what they may be trying to do with Portland. I'm going on kind of what you said, Sharon, and I'm like, well, okay, then that's possible. And they might end the CR because of that. So why not? We are the last light, but the last light, we're going to put this candle out and light this candle out here.
Well, but if Portland was their backup plan, they were going to destroy Portland in the world beyond.
We don't know that.
They were going to take that green stuff and drop it on Portland. That's why Hook blew it up.
Oh, right. Yeah, at the end. I'm sorry.
I thought so.
Well, plans can change too.
That's what our characters told us, but we never did we get confirmation from the CRM that that was the plan, or did the characters that we were watching sort of assume that was the plan? And that's why we think that was the ultimate goal.
I feel like that's where it was always going to go. Fine. I'm down with that.
Which is why at the end they were heading there to like warn them.
Right, and ideally stop it, but then Huck
Yeah.
blows the whole batch up. Which then again, look, that
They were
batch is
still
done.
heading there though, even after that.
They were heading there to
Yeah.
warn Portland to say, look, this plan
The
almost
kids, yes.
happened.
Yeah.
We stopped it from happening. Your city is safe for now, but you have
But-
to plan to fight.
Right.
Or hide or run or whatever you're going to do. Whatever you decide as a community.
Mhm.
We're just the messengers. Can we live here? Anyway.
Speaking of, we're
It was a long
homeless.
way.
So everybody else we know is living in an underground mall. I don't.
In upstate New York. Which, by the way, what about first impressions? Was this a good episode, Bridget? And compared to the other episodes too.
I thought this was a really good episode. There was a real sense of beauty to this episode. I really enjoyed the end to Jadis's story. It was sad because you love to hate her. You love to have her as the enemy. She's great for that. But there was something really beautiful about the way that they kind of gave her this continuation story with Gabe and how it's her trying to reconcile herself the whole time. I loved her line at the end. I wish I had died an artist.
Oh,
Mm.
Yeah,
I
that
just
is,
thought
that
that
started
hit
getting
me.
me.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
that
was
hit me.
like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
Of
truth.
course. One, it's the flashbacks to her in the heap. And then also to see the portraits that she painted for Maggie again and to really hold on that shot and to know that she was a part of that at one point.
And then she was trying really hard.
She was really trying
To
to
make
fight it, to say
amends.
like, I'm all in on the CRM thing. I'm disowning whatever I had before. But part of her, and you can see it from the way that Gabriel points out that she's doubting and the way that she ends, she may have been all in on it, but there was a place for her in Alexandria. Whether or not she wanted it, it was still there if she would come back and take it and be the Anne who
Yeah.
could be there and wasn't Jadis anymore. She could let that go and be Anne again. Pollyanna's acting was phenomenal as per usual, but it was nice to have moments where I wasn't just like, "Ugh, I hate you so much.
And your damn haircut. Your
You and
ass
your
haircut.
ass haircut." It was like so nice to see these moments. You kind of see back to who she was and what she's lost and all that she's gone through.
Because you forget.
Yeah, you do. You
It's
do.
very
It's
easy.
easy to forget. There's a lot.
She
there is
makes
a
it so easy to
lot.
forget.
I mean, there's so much lore to keep track of. It's easy to forget. Oh yeah, once upon a time.
It's not just about our protagonists,
Yeah.
essentially. And for a character, we should remind the audience, is completely made up. Kind of like Daryl,
Mhm.
in a sense.
I did enjoy the moments with Rick and Michonne. It was more on the lighthearted side, which I liked. It was that continuation of the end of the previous episode. These
Tasteful
smooth,
nudes.
these smooth, the tasteful nudes thing.
Tasteful
cracked me
Nudes.
up, dude.
That
I
was
like,
great.
Yes, it was such
Yeah.
a good ramen company name. Anyway, this idea that they're so happy to be back together, and I love that Michonne calls Rick on trying to pull like a move. He's got whiskey and, and
Gotcha.
a necklace, and it's just cute. It's
He's
like
trying to pull Michonne, like
it's
the
just
pickup
nice.
artists.
It's just nice.
Because when you said it,
It's
I was like, what do you
cute.
mean pull moves? Like, pull. I'm not familiar with this
he's
terminology.
hitting on his lady, but it was just
Yeah.
cute. It was really
Aw.
cute, and there was something really sweet about
It's making
that.
up for lost time, too.
And then
It's-
I'm not a huge fan of retconning. A lot of the time, it's like not well done.
I feel you a little bit, yeah.
This was okay for what they were trying to do. This was all right. Nothing was so far fetched that I was like, this never would have happened. Is it weird that Jadis would come back annually for like a meet and greet with Gabe? Like maybe.
I would see that over Gabriel being the one doing the meeting, essentially. Like, I could see Anne doing it. We're also retconning the TWD, which is like, can we really believe that Gabriel left the Commonwealth, let's say in the 1 year time jump, let's say,
Mm.
and even the present day time jump, just to go out to meet Anne? But then you realize, and it's something that is open to interpretation, that you realize that I think he's always loved her.
Isn't he at Commonwealth by now?
Well, that's what I was saying in the last
Mhm.
two jumps, even the last one, after you see her grave marker.
So how does she know where to find him at the Commonwealth?
She doesn't.
He's
They go to the
going
same spot every year.
No, I mean, but how did she find him there in the first place? Is what I'm saying.
That's a great question, because it sounds like he was out by the bridge. It sounds like he was by the water where Rick met his demise at the bridge. Demise, quote unquote.
I didn't think he would have been at Commonwealth. It said 3 years ago.
Right.
Why would he have been at
in the
Commonwealth
last
3
two
years ago?
times? Well, the last 2 times it's possible, like right.
But
The
I'm
1
saying
year
they
ago,
found each other that first time, and then it seemed like maybe it became like a standing agreement to meet at that
that's
spot.
what it was. A standing appointment at that spot where Rick left the show, essentially.
Mhm.
Which was essentially abandoned too after Rick tried to bring people together and he died for it.
So basically, she was just out there revisiting where she picked Rick up and just ran into
It just sounds like
suddenly Seth. It's just
She should have been out there reminiscing about who she used to be, reminding herself what she left behind.
There's something to be said about the fact that Gabe, I don't know if you guys recall this, but the conversations that they have when she's Anne and they're romantically intertwined.
in season 9.
The way that that comes about is because they were both outcasts. Still, after everything that they had done. To be fair, Jadis had been a traitor on more than one occasion and tried to bet on the wrong horse. But Father Gabriel is there with them, fighting alongside them, trying to ingratiate himself to them. And he just can't. He can't get in. No matter what he does, there's just something that people just don't trust him. It's kind of like how people treated Eugene for a lot of that time frame too.
Even Rick, by the way, in season 9.
Yeah.
He started to come around to Eugene,
Mhm.
started finally valuing his opinion, where in season 8 he wasn't. He was underutilized.
It was Father Gabriel that Rick left Judith with when he went to
That's
go
always good for
fight.
childcare, you know?
Well, I'm just saying, like, he trusted him with his child, though. I mean,
But
that's
he
that's
says
pretty,
to Anne, like, I'm an outsider. It changes
Yeah.
in that season.
yeah.
That's when he
season
finally is
10,
able to
it's
make.
all about Gabriel.
He's able to finally make headway. But previous to that, he still struggled with like finding his place because
wasn't
his-
undeserved either. He
well,
And with himself, too.
No, but he was a clergyman who turned his back on all of his parishioners. Is that beyond God's forgiveness? Was always the thought. And can I ever come back from this? He does. And it takes the whole losing his vision and the whole thing with Negan to be like, oh, yes, of course. Like, we're all here for a reason. We all have a purpose. We all play a part in the puzzle. But he struggled a lot with his identity during that time frame. And that is why he's able to connect with Anne. So I think that there is true love there. I'm not saying like he's
agree.
in love with her,
right.
but there is love there.
right. There was
Yes,
in love,
I
and it's
agree.
mellowed into just they're not romantically involved anymore, but there's still love there. You can still love people that you are not romantically involved with anymore.
To have love for someone is different than in love with
Mhm.
them.
Right.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, but I will go as far as to say the more this episode is mellowed in only the 12 hours since we've watched this,
Not
I'm
even.
starting to come around
Not
on the fact,
even.
because there's that one scene where they do kiss, and it's 2 years prior to present day. And this is arguably when he was with Rosita, which alarmed me a little bit, but only a little bit, because in a sense, Gabriel and Anne are mirroring each other in a sense, where we find out Anne is coming back to be herself with Gabriel. And Gabriel may be going back to be himself with Anne, in a sense, that maybe he never let go. And maybe even the ring that he gave her is his own way of saying, I will always love you too. Because it was a symbol of not only faith, but love.
Well, okay, Rosita was always on the ends. Even after she does the thing where she tries to shoot Negan, which arguably, had it worked, would have been a great decision, but it didn't. So it was a really stupid decision. Even after that, she's still in with everyone. She never experiences that outcast feeling to the same degree that Gabriel does, to the same degree
yes.
that Anne does.
Yeah.
So there is a
Correct,
special
correct.
part of him that only Anne can truly understand. And I just think that that's where that connection stems from. Yeah, I don't think it was romantic as much as it was maybe playing into the way that they used to be.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
The show does sometimes go into this nebulous zone where we can decide one way or the other. And so I won't push back too much on that. But I do think it's interesting that of all people to have a sort of, let's say, for the sake of giving it a name, a polyamorous relationship, a clergyman, of all people, there's something interesting about that concept of him
I don't
having
see
to
anything
a dual
polyamorous
life.
about it.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
think there
I'm gonna offend some people. I'm not
Again,
gonna
just
say
to
it.
give it a name.
See it
Just to
like,
give it a name.
I think that's too.
to have
I
two
don't think that's
loves.
accurate.
Well,
But
if,
again,
if we are to
he's not
say
in love with her. There's a difference for
opinion,
having love for someone. So you think he's in love with Anne, is what you're saying?
I think
You think he's in love with her?
You know what? That's interesting because on this show, we've seen what it looks like from the very beginning for your husband to come back after your friend has already tried to be with her. Shane, Rick, Lori. There is something to be said about seeing the tension in that, right? Because to Gabriel, one of the things that I noted in this episode was that one of the first things he says to her, he regretted making her feel like a traitor or an outsider when he should have known better, which is why she felt she had to leave. Did you get that sense? Because it was one of the first things he immediately jumped to forgiving her.
That's what he
for
thought.
Apologizing.
That's what he thought. But she says, well, I have my own plan. Because she did still have her own plan in the background. That was always an opportunity to leave.
But then again, what's interesting about that is he thinks it shouldn't matter. I shouldn't have made it feel like that's what you needed to do, to leave. You could have stayed. I just made a mistake. And he makes the same mistake near the end when she pulls a gun on him, the 1 year before time jump. He gets frustrated and he says, staying with a community that hoards food, hoards resources. He just does that thing and he loses it again. And I think he regrets it again. And that's when she shuts down. She says, you know what? I'm sorry for making myself vulnerable. You know what? I made the right decision the first time around to leave with the CRM. Who did I think I could be? I can't be Anne Stokes, which I'm never sure if she actually tells him that she calls herself Anne Stokes.
I don't think so.
I don't. Yeah, I have to listen to the episode again. But, but anyway.
You didn't answer my question. Do you think Father Gabriel is in love with Anne?
I do.
See,
because
I didn't see
I don't
that.
believe that I don't believe in true love. Meaning I don't believe in there's one person for you.
See, it still sounds like you're. Okay, let me ask a better question. Do you see a difference between being in love with someone and simply having love for someone?
I think that the tension there is not
like, okay, let me give you an example.
It's very flimsy.
Let me give you an example. I love you guys, but I'm not in love with any of you.
Wait, you have love for us. No. I'm talking about romantic love though with Gabriel and Anne. I am.
Okay, see, and
let's just call it that.
I don't see. Okay, so for me, I interpret that as being in love with someone.
He was with Rosita.
I don't.
He wouldn't do that to Bridget.
No. But Jadis initiates that kiss.
Of course I would. I would kiss
and
Bridget.
He reciprocated for sure.
He reciprocates.
There was no like, excuse me, I'm taken. No, it's his secret. It's his little secret that he loves to have. Come on, guys, get on board.
I don't agree with that. You can agree with that at all.
You can kiss your children with affection. You can kiss family members with affection. And it's not like that. And it's not romantic.
No, not on the lips with that much hang time.
I didn't see any romance in it.
That was a kiss goodbye to what their relationship could have been.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to describe it.
Alternate opinions, revisionist history.
Well, that's why we do this.
History's...
I love the different interpretations.
Right. Look, you can retcon this in your fanfic, okay?
I saw what I saw. I saw what I saw. You know, can I get your opinion on this kiss?
They were just talking about how this wasn't what she wanted, etc. And it was this knowledge that she made her choice, which is what this entire show is about. You made your choice. And she made her choice with the CRM, and there's no going back to what she was.
And rolling it back.
That kiss was just, can I still feel something? And can I still feel like I don't want to do this? And she can't. So it was a kiss goodbye to the life that they could have had and the person that she could have been. And she was maybe seeing if that kiss could bring it back, and it didn't. It wasn't enough.
Yeah, that's a beautiful interpretation, and that's exactly what I saw. I couldn't get it out in words, but yeah, for me, watching it, there was no romance behind it.
No,
it was a goodbye. That's a perfect way to describe it.
I don't want to push too hard against this because again, there's a nebulousness to all of it. And of
basically,
course
Dave is like, "Here's why you're wrong."
Yeah,
I don't want to push, but I will.
I don't want to push too hard, but here's why you're wrong.
But here's why you're wrong.
I like to bring back the Lori, Shane, Rick thing because there is something interesting about how this person was essentially whom he thought he was pretty good with, like as you said, because they had this shared experience of being an outsider. And there's always a sort of depth to having that with someone, like a kindred spirit. We can call it that, fine. It's just the mechanics of what would you do if your husband, whom you assumed dead, suddenly, which is essentially what happened with Gabriel and Anne.
Okay, so in this scenario, Anne is Rick and Gabe is Lori.
Lori and Rick were together for a long time. They had a marriage.
Right.
They had a child together.
Mhm.
Anne and Gabriel were together, what, a year at most?
Well, don't get caught up on the specifics, is what I'm trying to say, is that there is something to that. And you know what? Some of us have this idea that I wonder what would have happened if I would have just told her it's okay to stay, or what could have been, what might have been. And then Gabe, of course, has to move on, and he does with Rosita. I saw, because Kira was live tweeting her watch at 3 a.m, spoiling the goddamn world with her goddamn spoil. She did put towel spoilers, like that makes a difference. But she said, is this why Father, because that's the kiss happens that year. Not that they were at the Commonwealth per se. I think the kiss was during the time where they were starving, because that was the year before, which
he
is 10
says as
years into the
much.
apocalypse. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was the year before. That was the 2 years before. At some point, we know that by the time Gabe and Rosita get to the Commonwealth, they've already been on the outs, essentially, sharing custody of Coco, etc. Oh, Coco will stay at my place. It's that whole
I
thing.
didn't like it. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. But here we are. That was season 11, essentially. So she said last night, I guess that's the reason why Rosita and Gabe were on the outs. Essentially, Father
the
Gabriel.
kiss? Oh my goodness.
Which, you know what? I'm not mad at that
Hey,
take.
Rosita, I went out
Because-
in the woods and made out with my ex-girlfriend.
Well,
Like,
not that he would tell her, but
okay.
Gabriel is a man
And
of
then
faith.
she come
And so
home.
if
Did he come home smelling like Jadis?
Okay,
What does
now
that
we have to go
smell
through
like?
what Jada smells
Oh.
like.
Why do you smell like motor oil?
motor oil.
Because she's working around
gosh.
helicopters and stuff.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
She'd
I
smell like
guess.
diesel, maybe.
Ugh.
I always thought she smelled like a man's musk for some reason, just because of the haircut. It's just like Aqua Velva or something. You know?
Maybe Gabe felt
Brute.
something stronger than Anne did.
Oh, wow.
I'm willing to at
Really,
least say, I'm at least willing to say that. Well, I don't, yeah, maybe he felt more for her than she did for him in that moment, though. And just being who I'm trying to
Reconcile
reality.
reality.
I'm trying to like add more meat to what Kira says. If this is the reason that him and
it might
Rosita
not be,
split
and
up,
that's
it might
fine.
not be. It might not be. But I'm
I don't know
saying
that they're related.
I don't know that it is either. But if it is,
That's the point, really. It's
If-
all nebulous.
right? If it is, maybe it's because Gabe felt something more for Jadis or Anne, whatever, when they kissed. Maybe he did feel something a little bit more. When he got back, he thought, I'm feeling a certain way, and that's not fair to Rosita.
That's all I mean. That's all. And that's all I'm thinking, really. And it's not because of what Kira said. I had seen it on the screen. That's why I said Gabe and Anne are very much marrying each other. They have this whole other life, and it's not the same kind of life. But while they're with each other, they feel like their true selves. Like you said, Bridget, I'm going to give you
They relate.
some credit, is that they relate to each other on a
Mhm.
deeper level
They can
because of
be
their
honest with
outsideness.
each other, whereas, maybe Gabe feels like he can't be that honest with Rosita. That doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's romantic. Think of that what you will. That's up to the viewer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I'm fine with that. That's why I said I'm not going to push back too much
Yeah,
because
I
it doesn't
think-
make sense to.
For us to say there's no connection is foolish. My view on love is that you can be in love with someone, but that will inevitably fade.
Oh yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking,
That's
because
what I'm
in
saying,
love is more
but-
the throes. But
It's
yeah,
like lust, right? I mean,
but there's too much
you know,
history there.
if you
to
rely
be-
solely on being in love with someone, things like marriage and relationships are not going to last.
right, and we
Because
spoke
that
about
ebbs
this.
and flows and so
Mhm.
yeah, I've spoken on this before, my feelings on this. I don't know if I buy into that, but they do have a very strong connection, and they can connect with each other on a level that they can't connect with other people.
How about this? We can end on this question. It doesn't have to have an answer, but if you feel like answering, that's fine. It's foolish to think there's no connection. True. But is it foolish to think that there isn't some sort of more, let's say, romantic? Is it foolish to think so?
No, if that's what someone
that's
gets,
fine.
if that's what someone gets out of that, then then who am I to argue with you about it?
But it feels like that possibility is
It's
there.
not what I saw, but that's
Right.
my interpretation.
Right, and that's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. And that's what I love the most about this show, or these shows, is that you can believe what you want and it's actually fine, because it leaves so much room open for you to believe it. until later on when they say, oh yeah, they were boning, and you didn't see a lot of what happened there in his meetings with her. Okay.
Well, and that's why we're able to have the discussions that we do. You know,
Scott
how did
Gimple
you
will come
interpret
out and
this?
tell me how
did you
wrong I
interpret it?
am. It's fine.
Right.
Well, you know what? Here is another thing. Oh, can't wait to talk about this because, and I know we're going all over the place. That's fine. That's what we do.
We are.
But okay, I thought I was crazy for the longest time because everybody on the internet was tagging Michonne as Michonne Grimes, which is fine because even
Oh, but they
Gabriel,
weren't actually married. That thing.
and Gabriel says not that it matters anyway. Even him as a preacher,
Mhm.
but he wanted to do it, and that's fine. He wanted to marry them off, but they weren't. And so there is a part of me who isn't particularly religious or about institutional marriage necessarily as a thing, who even said, well, they're not married. And that's fine. It's fine if you want to call them. I'm not opposed to people calling Michonne Grimes. I'm just opposed to people yelling at people for saying, but they're not officially married. And that's fine. That's a fine take too. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with saying facts.
How do you
But for people to
officially
yell at-
get married in the apocalypse? There's no government to file paperwork with.
And that's fine.
So-
That's, again, fine.
Are you saying that John
Not that
and
it
June
matters.
were not married? Because you and I gonna
No,
fight.
they
No,
were
I'm just
actually
kidding.
married.
I'm just
They were
kidding.
actually married by a rabbi. How can I be upset?
In the apocalypse, much like before the institution of marriage existed in the way that it does now.
Oh, yeah.
You would meet someone and decide you wanted to be married, and then you would have a small, intimate ceremony, maybe, and then you were married.
Mhm.
And that was it.
It's about committing.
That was it.
Like hand fasting in times when it wasn't easy to come by clergy and people wanted to get married, they would do what was called hand fasting, where they would live
Mhm.
together for a year, basically. And then if they still wanted to be married, when the preacher came through, fine, we'll get married. And if they didn't, then they would go their separate ways. But during that particular time, they were considered married, even though they hadn't gone through the actual ceremony with a preacher.
It's funny because
How
that actually
interesting,
comes
like a
from
trial
Judaism
period.
too.
Yeah,
So in
that was a
Judaism, we do.
Scottish thing.
Oh, okay. Well, in Judaism, they have a concept of there's a first stage of marriage and there's a second stage of marriage, which usually occurs on the same night. It's where you get the rings and you ask for the rings. It's nisuin and kiddushin. Okay, fine, I got it. Nisuin is the act of asking somebody to marry you. So there is the proposal and the marriage happens at the same night, technically in a religious context. It used to be though, there's a hang time. So you ask somebody to be married to you, and there's a hang time between the time you ask, but it's part of the marriage process and the actual marriage. And
Well,
so
that's like regular engagement, Dave.
exactly, but that's
No,
not.
yeah.
There's no religious context for us in terms of modern engagements, but it's where they get it from. Is the actual wedding ring proposal sort of situation. Funny enough, if you want to know religiously speaking why when let's say a man gives you a ring and you're a woman, you're actually not supposed to say anything to accept that marriage proposal. You just accept the ring and that's it.
That
Yeah.
seems fair because I have turned down rings. And
You
I
just go.
definitely did not want to marry those people. So-
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Look at this hot bitch. She's got a hot hand.
I was dating them and I was like, no, that sounds too permanent.
Instead, you married God with the constant commentary and always
I
being
married
around.
this guy who he's like,
He does have a Jesus-y kind of look to him too. I have to muse. We're
he's got
getting closer to
he's
finding
got
the
very
truth.
long hair. Yeah.
Ted Nugent, Jesus.
An even funnier Ted Nugent Jesus.
Jesus Christ, superstar Jesus.
He's your buddy
All right, now you're
Christ.
giving him too much credit. What I don't like is when, and we do this on the show, we don't tell each other that you're stupid because you have this opinion or this or that opinion. We never do
No.
that. As much as we poke
I
fun
mean,
at
we
each
may
other.
pick on you. I may tell you you're wrong.
It's,
You
it's a
don't,
bully
you don't
fest
yell at us.
on
You
this
tell
end.
us we're wrong very nicely.
Yeah.
And then explain why we're wrong.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know what the best part about it is that you try not to let it bother you because it doesn't matter to me anyway. It's a fictional television
Right.
show. Life goes on. I have a marriage and lovely friends like you in my life. It's fine. But you don't, whatever, we exaggerate it. But there's a contingent of people who over the course of a couple years, 3 maybe, that really got in people's faces for saying, oh, Rick and Michonne aren't married. And I don't like that. I don't think that's nice. Period. Let's start from it's not nice. And then the cancel train happens and the pylon happens. And it's because of shipping, but it doesn't have to be because of shipping. It's because of things that aren't unrelated to the show whatsoever. It's this idea that we have to hunt down the people who we think are of a certain variety that hate people for immutable characteristics. We have to go after them because we want to solve that societal ill called racism, and nothing against anybody. If I have an opinion, it's not even an opinion. It's a fact that they were not married. But as Gabriel says, it doesn't matter anyway, because they are together. And that doesn't mean I don't think they're a couple. It doesn't mean that I don't think that they're together and have a children to mind now. It was just validating to hear that fact, because it's like, I thought it was crazy for having this opinion because, oh, wait, maybe they do think they're married. Because when the first few episodes came out, it made it seem as though, oh, maybe should I be calling her Michonne Grimes? I just don't.
My wife is my choice.
Their love is fairly strong. It's very palpable. I can sense it in the air. It smells like ozone.
We're also assuming that she would want to take his last name. I mean, she seems like a modern woman. Maybe she...
That was always my response, by the way.
Yeah.
And then we'd find out her last name subsequently, which we know in the comic books is Hawthorne, but they may not do it. Like Paul Monroe was in the comic books, Jesus. Mm-hmm. But in the show, they decided to call him Rovia because there's Deanna Monroe and there's probably Gregory Monroe too, which they didn't call him Gregory Monroe. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
I just want to know what you thought of this, or whether you saw this behavior, or you made something of this idea of them never getting married with the ring and all that stuff.
I'm with Gabe. I don't think it matters in an apocalypse situation.
It doesn't matter today.
Exactly. It doesn't even matter today, but it especially doesn't matter in an apocalypse, because if you decide to commit yourself to this person and say, this is my person, then that's as married as you're going to get. I mean, sure, you can have a ceremony, you can say some words, but does that make it more or less official? I don't think so. Yeah,
ultimately, I agree with you. Again, I just don't think it's nice if people point out, well, they weren't officially married.
Right,
and it doesn't matter anyway.
I mean, the bullying doesn't.
The bullying is just too much.
That's just semantics, people picking at semantics, which, I mean, I know I do that too sometimes, but that's a dumb hill to die on, is all I'm saying.
I just think it's just not nice. The people
I
would do
agree.
that to somebody else.
It's not nice, because if we want to look at them and say, oh, what a lovely married couple, and for someone to be like, well, they're not really married, I'd be like, well, who cares?
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. I don't care about that. I just don't like people being mean about pointing out facts.
Well,
That's
if you're
fine.
worried about the internet being mean,
right,
you're going to be upset for a long time.
You're in the wrong medium.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Also, there's the pressure to be right. There's no doubt. Listen, we'll make mistakes. We get things wrong. We try to correct ourselves as podcasters in this space. We have a somewhat of a responsibility to try to get things right. I had never addressed this question on the show because I didn't really, first of all, care. Like you said, it doesn't matter anyway.
It doesn't.
They're together. They're
and
a couple.
ultimately, it's a
damn?
matter of opinion, and everyone has one. So maybe not opinion, but point of view. It's the point of view you take on what marriage is.
Well, and it is sort of the show's fault in a sense, because they didn't really make that very clear whether that actually happened. And
well, maybe it's on purpose.
They didn't have wedding pictures hanging up everywhere. I mean,
Anne was still around when they could have gotten
they didn't
married
have their
and
wedding
painted
portraits.
a portrait.
Maybe we just didn't see it hanging up on the wall. Who knows? It could be there. Maybe it's hanging in Rick and Michonne's bedroom.
Yeah.
Well, and especially during that time where things seem to have been starting to get together.
Maybe they didn't jump the broom. Maybe they jumped the katana instead.
Maybe they broke the glass. Mazel tov.
Yeah. Ultimately, I personally, I don't think it matters. I think it was very clear that they made a commitment to each other. And as far as I'm concerned, that's more powerful than any ceremony they could have whipped together. I mean,
and
the fact that through these years, I mean, they, like I said, a few episodes ago, they spent more time apart than they ever did together and continued to stay committed to each other. I think that is more powerful than a lot of relationships we've seen on this show.
I think relationships of any kind that we can detect. And
Rick was gone for weeks when Lori decided to hook up with Shane. Michonne went 6 years.
I think it was months, actually.
Maybe 2 at most. 2 months.
2. Yeah.
Okay, so weeks.
Some people might say 3. Yeah.
Again, but we're looking at a matter of weeks.
And yet, who did Lori side with? Right?
Not years.
Lori sided with Rick anyway. Which kind of, I don't know. I don't want to go back to the Gabriel thing.
We don't need to, but no.
Fine.
They made a commitment and they both stuck to it. I think that says more than anything.
So I did like this episode more than the others, mostly because they were out in the
Jada-centric.
wild, you know.
Taking tasteful nudes.
Oh, this is people are going to be so mad at me for saying this, but I do not feel that the writing in this show is anywhere near as good as Daryl Dixon or Dead City. And I'm going to say it's because in this episode particularly, they did one of the things I hate the most, which is beat us over the head with an idea. Like we can't figure it out on our own, which is if we are together, we can do anything. They had to say that at least 10 times in this episode. Jada said it. Rick said it. Michonne said it. If we're together, we can do anything. If you two are together, you can do anything. If we're together, we can do anything. If we're together, we can do anything. You don't have to beat us over the head with that. I get it. They're a powerful couple when they're together. It was Fear season 8 level. It drove me insane. Also, please be aware I was watching this at 3 o'clock in the morning and I've had like 4 hours of sleep. So my take could be a little off.
Now, may I respond to this? Because I'm going to respond to this question with another question. And it's in the form of music. In the beginning of this episode, they're peeling into Wyoming, some city in Wyoming, some downtown. What is playing on the radio or for us? But Tony Bennett's
Good Life.
The Good Life, right?
Yeah.
But what is that song about? You ready? let me give you the goddamn words.
The Good Life.
Oh, the good life. Full of fun. Seems to be the ideal. The good life lets you hide all the sadness you feel. You won't really fall in love, for you can't take the chance. So please be honest with yourself. Don't try to fake romance. It's the good life to be free and explore the unknown. Like the heartaches when you learn, you must face them alone. Please remember I still want you. And in case you wonder why, well, just wake up, kiss the good life goodbye. What kind of foreshadowing S is that? And now keep in mind that we didn't really get all the Gabriel stuff just yet, but something about hearing that, because it's within the context of Rick and Michonne being free and living the good life together. And like you said, living with reckless abandon because they think, for all intents and purposes, they're off the hook. However, the core of this song is, this isn't going to last. This isn't going to last. So that's my answer to your question, Sharon D. Just like when you see Michonne do brazen anus things at the CRM, at the harvest facility, everywhere she went, she pushes the RDIM like some sort of Herculean warrior, which is fine. All of this is fine and I'm okay with, even though even I was having a panic attack. There was something about, can they do everything? I feel like they're saying it so I can be convinced of it, but there's something so unbelievable about it, which I'm not saying this in a negative connotation, but it's like, we know The Walking Dead. We know The Walking Dead universe. I feel like we said this recently and I can't remember the context, but it was when things are so good, we know they're going to fail. We know they're going to somehow pull the rug from under us and somebody's going to die. Now, I'm not saying Rick and Michonne per se, but I'm saying anybody that seems to have any success whatsoever. After a while, it's like, oh no, I'm dead. or I just turned into a walker in some other frame. Oh no, he died. And then he reanimated. So I'm actually not bothered by them saying it because it's almost as if when they're saying it so often, it makes it even harder to believe, in a sense. I'm not saying that that's the reason, but I'm saying it makes me doubt that they are able to do everything.
They're like the Wonder Twins, but instead of bumping fists, they activate
They bump uglies.
They bump
They
uglies.
activate a different way.
Yeah.
Wonder Twin
Wait a
powers
minute.
activate.
One of them is a bucket of water, and we know why.
Oh my.
Michonne is wet.
Oh God.
That's all.
Okay.
I'll leave it. There
All
we
right,
go.
my
There,
turn.
leave it. Okay.
This was a Mikey directed episode, yes?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Yes. I'm going to agree with Sharon D. I did feel a little beat over the head with the, we can do anything together. It was repeated a lot in this episode. But, and here's where I agree with Dave. I almost feel like they're setting us up with this to severely let us down. Like, we can do anything. And then we're going to find out in a horrible way that that is not true.
I don't think let down is like the
Well,
precise what you mean by it, but like they're gonna give us tragedy.
It's going to be a bait and switch, right? Like we think that they are this amazing power couple, which okay, I will give it to them. But I think we're going to find out in a pretty severe way that that is not true.
Do you think Jadis got to Rick and he's going to turn at the last second and go back to the CRM?
Well, I think the plan is to go back at this point because they have to.
But I
destroy
mean,
that
I know
dossier.
they want to go back and he's going to pretend like he's back in the CRM. But
I
what if
think
he gets back in there and he gets sucked back in?
He's going to get that echelon briefing,
Well, the
and I
echelon
think
briefing
something may
does
happen.
something.
Yeah,
It sells
Yep.
people enough to buy
Yep.
in
It's like
100%.
looking in
Thorn.
the Ark of
Look
the
at Thorn.
Covenant or
Yeah.
something.
So
They see the
I-
face of God in the echelon briefing.
So I'm
Yeah.
a little bit worried about that, but
yeah.
I don't know that would fully do it because he
It could
wants
be
to
an
take that
accumulation of-
information
of
back
things.
to Michonne. But anyway, continue on your train of thought.
Yeah, something's going to happen. I also saw quite a bit of foreshadowing. One, the song that David just described for us. That was a huge thing.
It sent alarm bells down my spine when I
I don't
looked at
love
the
it.
lyrics.
I do not
When-
love it.
We were getting all these flashbacks of Jadis. And what painting did they focus on that she did? It was
Glenn.
Glenn.
Glenn, more
It was
or less,
Glenn. It was mostly focused around Glenn. And Glenn did not
Was the heart
have
of
the
the show.
greatest. He was the heart of the show. He didn't have the greatest ending. His love story was cut short. I felt a lot of foreshadowing in that choice. The geyser, when they were in that museum, there was a thing that said like,
The
No, shut
geyser
up.
was referring to last
up.
episode.
shut up. It was like,
Where's my high
what-
five?
It was
I was
like
waiting
what
for it.
makes a geyser or something, or how a geyser. Anyway, it's pressure built up. And that's what we're not in a sexual way, you guys. You're gross. Get your heads out of the gutter.
I'm trying not
Oh
to
my
laugh. It's
God.
fine.
I mean, like emotionally, as the story is building, and I think we're going to see the geyser erupt in this next episode. I wanted to say specifically, Mikey, I think did a beautiful job, with the exception of the "we can do anything together." I think this story was told beautifully, visually, without having to smack us in the face or spoon feed us information this whole time.
The
unfolded
cinematography
beautifully.
and the scenery of the countryside
Yeah.
and all the places like the camping ground they were at, all of that was gorgeous.
Oh my
The
gosh,
cinematography was
that-
gorgeous.
That pink and purple sunset or sunrise, whatever it
Yeah.
was, over the lake with the, oh my God, oh, it was beautiful.
The
just
cinematography
beautiful.
was beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what? I should have mentioned this before, but in my 20s, I did like a Route 66 trip all the way from Chicago to the Santa Monica Pier. And coming back, I left my friend in California and I went back to Chicago myself, and I cut through Wyoming, and I slept there on a kind of a trailhead sort of situation where you end up on a picnic table, and I put the sleeping bag there and staying out of there. There's something personally, in a personal connection sort of way, about them going through Wyoming for me, that there's just something so magical about that state, going through it, and Green River and all that.
Is it Wyoming where they went in The Last of Us? Aren't they in
Yes.
Jackson Hole?
Yes.
Correct.
Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Yep. In the eastern part of the state, if you remember. And, I should bring this up because it's something that Michonne says about the travelers they meet on the way. How have these people survived so long? We're talking about 11 years plus now. And this lady she stepped in a snare. Like, it just stuck in her mind. It's this thing that she's like, Rick, why didn't we ask questions? I guess we can do anything, but maybe we should be asking questions. Even though we can do anything, that's fine. But maybe we should be asking more questions about how people like this have lasted this long, who've fallen into like the simplest of traps for animals. I'm guessing a snare for animals. So my response to that is, couldn't these people have been from one of the bigger colonies? Maybe they were out on a trip or on an expedition for Omaha or Campus Colony, and it had already fallen for a year. They were used to being behind walls and relatively modern safety. But what
My response
do you have
to
any
that-
thoughts on that?
Yeah. Immediately, I thought of Carl.
Oh, do explain.
I mean,
just- wow.
we were so many years into the apocalypse, and everybody had such honed survival skills and fighting skills, and he managed to get bit by a walker. Something so simple, so routine that they were doing all the time, and he still got bit by a walker.
Right. Which is to show us that
Well,
it can happen to
anything
any
can
one
happen.
of us, no matter what.
Yeah.
it's how it is in
Yep.
real life. So
Yeah.
it's relatable. I mean, you're not going to get bit by a zombie, but the drive home,
You get too
you know,
comfortable, right?
you do.
And then,
and you get in
Yep.
a car accident or whatever, and that's what does
closest
it.
to home.
Or
Yeah.
you went on a run and you run every day, but suddenly your heart failed. These random things will happen.
That never happens on these shows. A heart attack. What?
No, that's
These
real life,
random
though.
things can happen. That's
Yeah.
how real life is.
I want to hit on what you said, though, because isn't that, in a sense, for them, yes, that it could come for you too? Isn't that
Mhm.
a sort of foreshadowing? It could be any dumb thing.
I think it's
Sure.
a
Yeah,
reminder
that's another
too.
sign
It's
of
a reminder
foreshadowing.
too that,
Absolutely.
you know, they're on this high, so they're like, well, we'll help them because we're good people and together we can do anything. And the people immediately turn on them. So it's like, oh yeah. I'm really
love
happy,
that
but this place,
scene.
oh yeah, this place sucks, and so does everybody here on Earth. They're all bad. Oh yeah, okay, totally
Oh my
forgot.
God. I laughed so hard when Rick was pointing his gun at that guy and he's like, I'm peeing.
Pretty good.
And then later on he
I
says,
love that it
I
came
could
back.
certainly use a new pair of pants.
New pair of
He
pants.
brings it
Anything that
back.
gets me a new
Oh
pair of
my
pants.
gosh. It was so funny.
Him going with Jadis because she promised a new pair of
A new
pants.
pair of
for him.
pants.
So
Yeah.
good.
Immediately.
It was so good.
A walker was in at
Oh.
first, but hey, no pee.
Yep.
So,
They're
enjoy.
relatively dry. Maybe.
They had a little schmutz inside.
The calcified walkers were awesome.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
another new
The
walker.
idea of they were calcified because of the steam from the vents.
Mhm.
Because of course in Game of Thrones you have the Stone Man disease, grayscale,
Oh, yeah.
where they
Grayscale,
basically
right?
turns them into stone. And I was like,
Yep.
is this a new disease that's come out turning them into stone? But I really enjoyed that and I love the explanation.
I immediately went to petrified forest walkers. Oh my god! But because World Beyond, they were hewed into the trees and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And so I
Oh.
thought maybe there was something to that. But no, I like the scientific explanation. It's like, yeah, calcified from the steam vent. Sure. Sulfur in the air, whatever.
So they knew a lot about that. So it felt like they had been in that area for a while. Just saying. They're not good at surviving out in the wild, but they are
Yikes.
from that area. It's kind of a reminder, too, that I'm going to sound really mean when I say this, but there are a lot of really dumb people in the world. And some of them happen to be dumb and really lucky.
Fair. Yep.
wow.
Okay.
The word you're
So-
looking for is lucky. Sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
we always
not
say
so
it's
much
luck.
that they were maybe behind a wall. It's just maybe that they've been really lucky so far.
Well, they could have been staying at the building that we saw where
like,
Jadis
little
died
tourist-
because they
The
Oh.
there
ranger
were like
station.
well, there were like makeshift walls made out of blankets and stuff, and you could see
Oh,
like
yeah.
different rooms. So maybe at one point
like,
they
partitions.
lived there.
They probably
And-
lived with a larger group, and
So-
now it's
yeah,
just
something
dwindled down
happened
to
and-
them.
They could have
Yeah,
lived at the
maybe they're
cabins.
the-
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I saw the deer head mounted, I was like, somebody's getting impaled on antlers. I can see it coming.
Not again.
I was so disappointed it didn't happen.
But Mikey was on fear. He knows to
No,
avoid
yeah.
the pitfalls with the fear
Mikey's like, we
fans.
can't do that again. We did that
Yeah,
once.
come on.
We did it
We
already.
did that with the end
Did it
game
twice.
episode.
We only have a half an
Yeah.
hour. Do we want to go over a timeline, or did you guys do that already?
We definitely want to go over timeline.
Okay.
Well, let's start with the first one because it did not include the timeline marker because, well,
I
first
thought
of
it was
all,
3 years.
It's at 3 years.
No, the helicopter flying overhead did not include
Oh,
a year.
no.
Yeah.
Oh,
I assume,
okay.
but I assume the helicopter
That
flying
was
over
now.
It's
was
a good choice though, right?
is either now or the 3 years ago. It's
That's
one
why
or
I
the
bring
other.
it up. It's a great
Yeah.
thing to do because you're
Mhm.
thinking, when is this happening? And my
It's one or
very
the
next
other.
line in my notes is, this means that Jadis put her contingency into motion. Oh no. That's my first thought.
That was
until
my
you get
thought
to the end
too.
of the
That was my
episode.
thought too. When I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, so this is happening.
Okay, fine. Good device. Keep them guessing.
Mhm,
Fine. And you figure it out later on. Okay, this isn't now. This is the first meeting. And based on whose facial hair? Seth's. Because it keeps changing throughout the years. I love it. Fine. I wish they put a little bit more black in the beard initially too, though. But let's not split hairs. Let's move on. His goatee did bother me. This big bushy goatee did bother me a little bit because it was a little too gray, but it's not
That's
worth.
fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
You know.
I think it starts 3 years ago, which hit me a little bit by surprise because 3 years ago means 8 years in, which means we're in the middle of the big time skip, technically. 5 years into the 6 year time skip.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
let's go
So
with that.
Eight,
Rick
yeah.
is gone, and he's been gone for a couple of years. RJ's been born. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
This is not the part where it gets squirrely. Well, it dovetails to the first scene where the helicopter's going overhead, blah, 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 making holy water in the river. Jadis pops out
Mhm.
and he hugs her immediately.
And she's got the bad haircut already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wanted to point
And
out.
he's not taken aback by it at all. He's just like, look at that hair. I'm good. I'm fine with it.
Okay. All right. Now you're on my you started to get on my train. I feel it. Anyway.
What is he supposed to say, Dave? Oh.
Look at that S haircut.
I see you got the Edgar.
Okay. Now, okay, I write in my notes. It's supposed to be before the end of the big time jump, but Gabriel mentions the ham radio.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're thinking,
Wait, that's
Rick
after
with-
the full time jump.
you're wrong.
Is it though? I don't think. Yeah,
Is
I don't
it
think it
not?
is. No, Eugene was fiddling around with
you're
it
right.
before then.
You're
He's
right.
fiddling around with the ham radio
Yeah.
that they found,
right.
that Gabriel found
You're
with
right.
Harlan Carson.
That all happens right before the time jump, doesn't it? With the
Mhm.
satellite and
In
all
season
that.
8.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, because of the time skip, they've been fiddling around with this thing for years and not really getting anywhere until the beginning of season 10, when our Valeri
End of 9.
Yoshenko's
Because we hear
lines
that
across
voice.
with season.
Oh no,
Yeah,
I'm
we
sorry.
hear-
I'm sorry. End of 10.
Oh no, that's Stephanie. Okay, yes,
Yeah.
you get
We get that
but you get
voice.
that from Alexandria. That's right, a radio in Alexandria. Is that right?
Mhm.
Let me just dot my I's and cross my T's. I think so. I think it's Alexandria.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
in that.
it is. Yeah.
It's in that attic space.
Or whatever it is.
It's up because everybody climbs up the floor to get into it. There's like that little staircase in the background.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an attic.
Okay. Either way, no, but I was going to move on to the bigger point. It doesn't get amplified, or they don't get the parts for it until Valery Yashenko, whatever his name, the spaceman, his pod crashes to Earth.
Yeah.
That's what I was just talking about, the satellite.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and then they amplify it. They bring it to Hilltop to get more of a range.
Okay.
And he and Rosita climb up to the antenna and try to boost
Mhm,
it. And
mhm.
anyway, so all of this is before that, just with the ham radio, trying to find Rick or whatever it was. I think it was that
Okay.
Eugene, and Rosita were trying to find
Okay.
Rick using whatever means possible.
I
But
hate
it
that every
throws you
time we
off.
get to stuff like this, I'm like, well, let me just go back and watch 11 seasons of this show again.
It almost tripped me up. That's not the thing that trips me up. 2 years ago. Now we're after the time jump,
Okay.
officially. Year 6 of the time jump. Okay, well, we're here. We're back. Okay. Anne and Gabriel still meet. Michonne's away helping people. Fair.
Okay.
Fair and fine. The new people come in. She's helping them resettle at Hilltop. Yumiko, Magna, Luke, Connie, Kelly, etc. And Bernie. Just kidding, not Bernie.
That struck me as odd though, because that would be after the Jocelyn incident where she kind of shut
which happened
down.
In the time
Right.
jump.
But that's why she won't allow them to live in Alexandria. It's why she takes them to Hilltop
Right.
instead. Judith
Okay.
is the reason she feels guilted into helping them, even though her natural inclination is to be like, I'm not helping them at
To
all
not.
because I'm
Yeah.
not helping anyone.
Right.
Okay.
Right?
And you're
Isn't
like,
that how
why is
that
she
goes?
such a bitch?
Why is she
Okay.
being so mean?
And you don't
But-
find until like nearly the end of
Yeah.
the season.
Yeah, and then you find
essentially.
out what's going
10
on. Yeah.
Was it 9/13, 9/14 scars?
So these people she's helping are
Yumiko, Magna,
Magda.
Kelly,
Yeah.
Connie, Luke.
Nadia. wait.
Nadia.
Nadia,
Wait.
Eleanor.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's German. Anyway. Anyway, fine. All good.
Okay.
Now we get to 1 year ago. This is what I have a problem with.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm.
1 year ago, it's maybe the last meeting with Anne and Father Gabriel. She thought about how she couldn't help Gabriel all this time. He says something to the effect of the walls were breached, children are starving. And that's
Mhm.
when I start going, oh, why? Why did you do that? That's not when that happened. When did the walls get breached? Let's go over that moment.
I thought that was
That-
I thought
I
that was
thought
in
that was-
reference to
Is that
Hilltop.
the Commonwealth
The
walls getting
Commonwealth
breached?
breaching.
Oh.
Because it's
I
been
thought
a
it was
year.
talking about Hilltop.
Yeah, when Commonwealth
But we're
came
not
into
up to
Hilltop,
that yet.
right?
In the present day.
Aren't
That's
we?
why, no, we're not up to it yet.
You sure?
We're just about, but we're definitely not at the point where the Commonwealth's walls get breached.
I thought that was a reference to Hilltop's walls being breached
Now
Me
that's
too.
fine,
with
Me
the
too.
whole
That's
the
fine. I
battle.
thought Commonwealth.
That's what I thought. That's what it was.
but the problem is that Hilltop isn't the place where people were starving. It was Alexandria. It's 10C. It's just after the Whisperer War.
Mm-hmm,
Alexandria's walls are failing. They're trying to prop them up.
mm-hmm.
Children are starving. Carol, in one of the episodes with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, wrangling that horse to slaughter
Yeah.
so that people can eat
Mhm.
the horse meat.
Yeah.
That's 10C. This is just after the Whisperer War.
Okay.
There is a bit of time effery here.
Okay. Wait. So if it's 10C and they're saying that's 1 year ago,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
then it's
Is it one? No, that's 2 years ago.
Right.
No, that was one.
that was 1 year. I thought.
1 year
I
ago.
thought you had already gone through 2 year.
Yeah.
No, I'm still in 2 year.
Oh, you had said 1 year ago.
So let me give you my notes.
Okay.
Okay. 2 years ago, after the time jump, Anne and Gabriel still meet. Michonne is away helping people. Gabriel, listen, it could be that I wrote it down wrong, but I think I am right. Gabriel kept an official wedding ring, even though what happened. Not officially married. Thank effing God because I'm not crazy. So I write that down for myself. Anne expressing misgivings was allowed the "you gotta do bad to do good" line to save the world line. Okay. The wedding ring becomes a symbol of faith, of love. Maybe it'll give you something you need. Giving it to you is giving me something I need. How's that for a marriage proposal?
Pretty sad one, but okay.
And then he does the thing where we're starving. This is before she goes. Our children are starving. The walls are breached. Can I have something? I know you're with somebody who hoards food, blah, 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 whatever. Anyway, I don't think that was the year ago. The year ago was Gabriel's own secret proves that Anne is still here. So he says that from the jump. Because they're holding on to their last things they've said for a year. And then they come back and they're like, I've been thinking about this for a whole year. And I regret what I said to you. Or I've been thinking about what you said last time about you not really being here. Maybe I'm already gone. And he said, no, my secret time with you proves that you're still here. And then he gets frustrated and he says to come back. I'm not supposed to ask questions about your group and blah, blah, blah. And like, how am I supposed to know? I didn't write everything exactly down, but he goes like, Father Gabriel makes the same mistake again, rushes to judgment about she's with a group that hoards supplies and resources. And then that's the thing that gets her to go, I'm sorry I came here. I'm sorry I made myself vulnerable. I'm sorry for turning you into a loose end. Again, history repeating
because
itself.
of the accusation about the hoarding supplies, I assumed that's why
it was that
food,
year.
Yeah, that was happening at that time.
But it wasn't. It was the last thing he had said to her before they left.
Okay, so you're saying right after the time jump, we're in year 9.
Yeah.
Michonne helps save Connie,
Kelly,
Nadia. Anyway,
Yumiko, Magna, Luke, Abrams.
When she helps their group, that's when you're saying that he's saying that they're starving.
Correct. But that's
I'm
not
trying
quite
to think
right.
what was happening in Alexandria at that time.
Not starving.
Are you sure?
They were making bread. Remember when they even met up with Gamma? I wouldn't even say not too long afterwards. Dante was on site. Negan had just killed one of the highwaymen. Remember? He was put into jail again. Actually, he had to leave, I think, at that point. And then went after Alpha, joined the Whisperers. There's that whole saga. And it wasn't until they were starving until after the whole Whisper War, where seasons change. We noted the springy atmosphere around that time. And then when the Whispers are being drawn off the cliff and Lydia shields Carol from the walkers that were going off the cliff, it was already fall.
I think that still could have been 2 years ago, though, because the Commonwealth storyline was pretty much a whole year, give or take. And then in that final episode, we see
we're at that
1
point
year
now.
later.
Well, and also you have to consider the fact, okay, let's just take it at its word. After the Whisperer War happens, you get a couple of episodes, including the one where Eugene, Yumiko, and King Ezekiel go off to get help from Stephanie down at what we don't know yet is the Commonwealth, but we actually do know. They get captured, etc.
Meet Princess.
Right. They meet Princess along the way, take her with them. And then we get Here's Negan, where we hear that we're 12 years into the apocalypse. We may be at the Commonwealth right now, where Yumiko, Eugene, Princess, and King Ezekiel are meeting up with their first encounter with the Commonwealth right now in present day. But they leave for the Commonwealth right after the demolishing of Hilltop.
All right, I just found something on Reddit that talks about exactly this.
Oh, God.
Okay. It agrees with you. So this is written by Dead Calamari 1. Aces. Okay. I am loving Towel, which is probably the best The Walking Dead has been in years. However, there is one thing I've noticed that's wrong with it. The timeline is wrong. In episode 2 of Towel, it says Michonne's journey starts 7 years after the bridge. This is incorrect. And Here's Negan. The show sets the timeline at 12 years into the apocalypse, placing the show in the year 2022. Here's Negan takes place at the ending of season 10, and the events of season 10 has no major time jumps, and the events of season 11 take place almost immediately after. We even know that season 11, episode 10 takes place during Halloween 2022 because of the holiday being celebrated. This also means the series ends in the year
2023?
In the year 2024. However, the bridge happens in 2013, 2014, and season 9 takes place in late 2021, early 2022. However, The Ones Who Live is claiming Michonne is currently in the year 2021 at the start of her journey, which completely contradicts Here's Negan's timeline.
I'm not bothered
placement.
by that, though. 7 years after the bridge, I'm not bothered by it because the
some
Whisper
people
War
are saying it's 6 years. I was hoping that this was going to clarify what you were talking about, but I guess not.
I'm okay with her saying 7 years because 6 year time jump, Jesus dies, and we don't even have the Whisper War until about a year later.
Yeah, everyone's saying that it takes place about 6 years after the bridge incident.
No, Who says that? Nobody should say that. That's wrong.
Season 11 is when Michonne is recovering from the chlorine gas.
See, what, season 11?
Yeah.
No,
that doesn't seem
that
right
makes
either. That
no
doesn't make any
sense.
sense. As
You
it
have to
turns
remember-
out, no one knows. How's that?
Okay,
Absolutely no one has an idea as to what the time
let me just say what I know for sure.
Gimple knows, and he'll never tell.
No, he doesn't even know. It's fine. It's fine. She leaves during the Battle of Hilltop.
Correct.
Yes, the
Yes.
Virgil thing, blah, blah, blah,
Correct.
however long that takes. And then she finds the boots and she goes, Daisho, Shoto, it's me, Daisho. And I'm bye. See you later. And this is just after
I'm
the Battle of
bye.
Hilltop.
I'm bye.
I'm bye. Wait. Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
not...
maybe she is. You don't know. Don't
I
judge.
mean-
Man, that would have introduced a super cool triangle with Jadis, Rick,
It
and
is
Michonne.
right. Right. I wanted to thank you.
I laid with him
Anyway.
after.
Right, exactly. So she leaves during the Battle of Hilltop, and Judith goes, "It's fine. Everything's fine. It's not fine. People died." Immediately after the Virgil situation, she finds Bailey and Aiden, and then they go on a journey. And that couldn't have taken terribly long. It's still fall, nay winter, because it starts to snow when they get to Bridgers,
Mhm.
right? Okay, we're on the same page,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
It seems to me that during the course of their journey, even the Whisper War might be starting to come to a conclusion. That's when the walkers walk off the cliff and the mask, you see the Alpha's mask going down the. Anyway, get that image in your mind. Fall ish, right? The leaves are changing.
Sure.
Okay. Then the chlorine gas hits,
Mhm.
and then we have a year. And in that year, okay, let's go piece it together. You have Maggie coming back with her wardens and the Reapers, and then you've got finally catching up on what happens to Princess, King Ezekiel, Yumiko, etc. But I know that there's a little bit of backtracking to go through because they do a bit of traveling, and we don't know how long that took,
Mhm.
even though it's not terribly far away, but it is far away when you go down on walking and bicycles and whatever they do. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Then you get to Here's Negan. And this is about the time where they're starving. Okay. And it's still fall, etc. So that whole Whisper War thing probably starts, let's say, in August or September. And the rest of it happens during the course just about fall, right? That's just about when the leaves change. Here's Negan probably occurs in November. Is that fine? Or maybe some of these timelines overlap a bit.
Okay.
Like all the episodes might overlap a bit.
Sure.
Even one of the episodes is describing the stone soup where Carol chases the rat for most of the episode.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
The alpha she was trying to chase. So I think a lot of these episodes overlap, except for the one right where Daryl goes off and I think it's the same episode. I can't remember which. Diverged, right?
Yeah.
Diverged in the Wood. That's the only one that goes one after the other. So we're back where we started.
But is that why they went back to the last episode of The Walking Dead and took out the placard that's on 1 year later? Because it's removed now.
I don't know. I don't think it really matters. There's an artistic choice to the removal as well, because in the episode itself, Ezekiel is dedicating the plaque
Didn't
in
you say it's like a 1
memoriam
year
for.
later?
Well, it didn't even matter because they're commemorating the year that the
True.
Commonwealth blew up.
True.
I can relegate that to an artistic choice rather than a continuity choice.
Okay.
A little redundant. It's like what Sharon said about, we can do anything. Okay, take out the 1 year later. We know it's 1 year later. We're not stupid. You're commemorating a year after. And now your governor, Deputy Governor Mercer, and King Governor Ezekiel, whatever. Ezekiel Sutton, fancy pants.
Okay.
I love you.
So the only error that we can find is maybe not even correct because we're going off of your 3 a.m. note.
Right, maybe.
Maybe.
It's the starving children and
Okay.
breached walls that bug me a little bit in terms of the timeline.
Okay. But everything else works out.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else seemingly here,
Yeah.
because the ham radio we figured out wasn't the one from after the satellite crash. This ham radio is the one they found immediately in season 8 and they kept using for years
Okay.
in the middle of the time jump, let's
Okay.
say. It's fine. I'm cool with
I
all
think
that except for the starving
I
children.
think all of that pans out, yeah, except for that, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
And that's fine. The Rosita baby thing, there's a bunch of things. Rosita having Coco is a bit of a tricky one too,
Yeah.
because right, that baby isn't born until after
Well, and good luck
Silence of
judging.
Whispers.
Good luck judging a baby based on what they look like on a television show. This
Yeah.
2-year-old is a newborn. They're
Well, it's
just
not-
been born. Oh, look at this giant baby I just gave birth to. It's so huge. And doesn't it all look like a newborn? But I just
Right,
gave
right.
birth to it. It's covered in KY jelly and cornflakes.
Ew.
That's what they used in Poltergeist. Just
Oh,
saying.
okay. Oh no, babies aren't. Oh no. Anyway, it's worth noting that, I don't know, actually, I think we find out Rosita is pregnant from Sadiq, because he's the father, during season 9. And Rosita eventually has a baby sometime after the Whispers go away. The Pikes happened. The Whispers go away. They move south for winter like birds. And then Alpha gets the whipping. And then after the season passes, the winter passes, we have the calm and the storm.
Mhm.
They come back and Rosita eventually has the baby, which is a significant amount of time. That's 9 months, which is why I don't think the starving in the walls and all that stuff happens when they say it happens in Towel.
Well, that's it. Now I got to rewatch the whole show again.
That's way
My
too
brain
much for
is
like 4 hours
pulsing.
of sleep.
And now Rachel has to go because I burned all this time just trying to get this is why I don't
I knew
like
it
doing
would take
timeline.
the full 30 minutes to break it down. But okay,
And
let's
that's going to get compressed to like 10, 15 minutes max.
Okay, but
by the way.
let's say this. Out of all these time pieces that we see, if that's the only thing that isn't completely
It's not
lining up
horrible.
and there is still some wiggle room there, I think they nailed it. It was pretty spot on for the most part.
I think it was is a very
was
good
great.
effort, and they pretty
yeah.
much got it.
Yep.
And I appreciate the
And-
fact that they tried
And let's be
to give
honest,
us that.
they know we're paying attention to this stuff.
Mikey especially.
Mikey knows we
Mikey,
pay
you gotta
attention to
bone up on them facts,
timelines.
Mikey.
Yeah. And you know what? And
I love you so much.
and I'm not mad at it. I'm really not.
I'm not either.
To try and keep time in an apocalypse, really the only thing these characters have to go on is the weather. There's no updated calendars.
Literally.
There's no updated
Weather
calendars.
and
There's
then
no
when
watches.
When Coco was born.
There's not. Yeah, exactly.
Also, the length of the days.
True.
Sure. But they got to have like a starting
Thanks.
point too.
You know that
And
you know
go
that
from there.
Mikey's
So
like he doesn't
it's
want to come on the
still-
podcast now because of this. He's
We're
like,
gonna
oh,
ask
God.
it point blank. Like,
oh God.
that's going to be
We
our
messed
first
up the
question, right?
I would
No,
never ask him
I
these
think-
questions
no,
either.
I think
by
the
the way.
point-
Mikey,
You
tell us the timeline, please.
Yeah. Well,
No,
and I
actually,
think,
we'd be like, "Hey, how good was our last podcast?"
yeah, no, I'd be like, Mikey,
Dave
you
just
nailed
sits there
it.
like,
Mikey, you nailed it.
how great
I
are
think,
we, Mikey?
I think Mikey spent time on this and he
I
said,
agree.
this would have been happening then. This would have been happening here. There was a conscious effort made to line this up. And I think it came through beautifully.
Yeah, just like they did with RJ
Yep.
with the 7 months in. And
Yep.
it's really gratifying. Even Takira's nod with the whole, maybe that's why they split up.
Well, we have no idea. It doesn't ever appear like we're actually going to get an answer as
Right.
to what
No,
happened.
right.
So
But even if you get that little bit closer, like, oh, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it is fine with me,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
It did feel like, oh, enough time must have passed where they just decided no.
But we
it's
didn't
not
even,
what's
yeah,
happening.
exactly, because we didn't even see a conversation.
No,
the only
you
reason
just-
we even
it's
know
just
they're not
the
together is
sharing
because
custody thing.
Exactly.
Right, which indicates some time has passed from the time the
Mm-hmm.
Commonwealth comes to help.
I just want to say there
Yeah.
was a shout out to Bills taking all the stuff in the store.
Effing Mikey. It's
Mikey,
effing Mikey.
yep.
Yep.
The, Bill,
Mikey.
the singing Bill Bass.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't
mounted-
see that.
Oh, I did. And I'll put a
Oh,
screenshot.
man.
So
Bill's bait and tackle, wasn't it? Right?
no, I mean, yeah, that's what it was
It
called.
was Sharon.
Mikey,
This is a
I
Sharon
want to
question.
know
Sorry.
the significance of the Yellowstone thing
Mhm.
hanging in the
The
Natural History
museum?
Museum or wherever they're at. Yeah, there was a Yellowstone poster hanging up there.
That's fairly close-ish
Mm,
to Yellowstone National Park, isn't it?
But I'm going to
not really.
sound like an idiot here and go ahead and make fun of me, but I don't know where Yellowstone is.
It's in Montana.
It's in Montana.
I get
yeah.
confused.
Oh, okay.
It's in. Isn't
You
it in
know
the
that if you
Crossroads?
watched Yellowstone with us.
Jellystone.
I tried. I gave it a good
Jellystone is a
Dave's
show?
effort.
referencing Jellystone Parks.
There's a Jellystone like 2 miles from my house.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, boo boo.
He stole my
That's what I'm
picnic
referencing.
basket.
Picnic baskets.
Yet again, this episode, if you left it here, I would be fine. This
Oh, I
season,
would not be fine.
this season, I thought because it had such a like nice little ending of like
I agree.
the engagement, well, the marriage,
Yeah.
the marriage.
Well, this is another good example of it could have ended here.
Yes.
In the middle, or like the middle end, or whatever it was after they buried Jadis or whatever. But then they get the proposal.
Yeah. If you ended it there, I mean, you would be like, oh, what happens? But you do get this nice little ending. So it does feel like, oh, okay, like if it ended here, I would be okay, I guess.
A very sweet little wrap up.
I agree with that somewhat, but I think for the first time, listen, it's very rare Or maybe they're doing the checkerboard pattern again, interestingly enough, like they did in season 8 of Fear, where you get one good episode, one bad episode. Anyway, in this case, it's...
That wasn't intentional, though.
You get one episode that really wraps up and end the series there. That's the first one. Second one was like, okay, I can see why it ends pretty good because they meet. It shows the perspective of Michonne, and then they finally meet up, but then it keeps going. It would have been fine if they ended it there too. Episode 3, because of the helicopter jump, it's like, okay, I gotta see the next episode. I gotta see the next. It's fine. I gotta see the next
right
episode.
here.
Yeah, you
End
did
it right here. What happened?
Episode 4. Okay. All right. That's the end of series.
Yeah.
Okay. It's fine. They're going off in their little truck. It's fine. This episode, it's like, no, it's nice and all. I did love the proposal. I loved it very much.
I shouldn't say proposal because that's not what it is.
And acceptance.
It's a marriage. They're saying this is it. We're married. Because what else do you need?
Wait.
It's hand
To
fasting.
support you, what do we see Father Gabriel doing in the beginning? He's making holy water from a natural spring or natural body of water. Fine. He's doing the same thing with the ring. He is carrying it and blessing this ring so that when it finally reaches whom he never thought it would reach, it was already a done deal. I'm doing this in advance. This is a done deal. You wear this ring with all my breath. What did he say in the damn episode, Rick?
I'll love you till my last breath.
Yeah, and then she says something.
I'm yours.
I'm yours.
Done. Like you said, it's fine. Marriage proposal, acceptance, and Mazel Tov. Cool. And they're on their knees together, facing each other. Ended there.
Well, that's
It
why I
doesn't
said
end
it
there.
was a marriage instead of a proposal, because she gets down to essentially give her half of the vows.
It's both. Yeah, it's everything. It's all the whole, and they didn't have to pay a cent
Who
for
knew
it.
they were Jewish, Dave?
Well, there was no glass breaking.
Oh, that's true.
It's fine.
Sorry.
It would seal the deal. And then they would have to say, if I forget Jerusalem, I forget my right hand.
I think they were like crunching leaves under their knees. So is that kind of like they're like breaking something?
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who needs glass?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Leaves are
But-
safer.
I'm fine with what you're saying. However, there is too much in the air. I need to see that next episode because
we know what's going to happen with this next episode.
This episode is the guys are filling
But
up.
here, let's be real. Let's be real.
And then it's going to explode
Let's be
in the
real.
next episode.
We've been saying it since the beginning. There's going to be another season. This show ain't wrapping up in one more episode. Y'all are clowns if you think it is.
Not at all.
You know what? We said that about Daryl Dixon, though. And in a sense, they sort of gave it to us. However, I think we all felt a sense of satisfaction by the end of the season.
No.
Like, I didn't feel like I needed to see more, but I definitely want to. But it's not that feeling like, right, but it's like these episodes. I got what I wanted.
Well, they tied up some loose ends. So you got some loose ends.
They tied up enough
that you're
to be
like,
satisfied.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I want to see more. Obviously, I want a season 2, let's say. But they wrapped up that in 6 episodes. They did a good job of keeping us satisfied. They didn't leave us on a big enough cliffhanger. Well, they did the thing with Carol. But even then, I don't really consider that part of the episode in a sense. I kind of treat it as...
It felt like a post-credit scene.
Yeah. I considered it not part of Daryl's journey, which in a sense closed. And this is where he's going to be. Yeah. And I'm cool with that. And anything from that point forward is fine with me.
I viewed it at Comic-Con, so I still, to this day, don't really know where that scene falls in the actual episode. I don't know where the commercial breaks are or anything like that.
I really, really like that they included that flashback to Jennifer Malik, that fight between them two.
Yeah.
I don't think we explicitly said that. I like that they referenced it by words, but they also showed us.
It solidified your thought when she refers to killing her confidant.
Someone she liked.
Later on in her final confession to Rick.
She went out the same way Huck did, right? They both got stabbed.
Initially, Jadis shivved her. And then in the cabin, I think Michonne's axe got her in the ribs, essentially. It's very similar.
That's RJ's axe.
Is it though?
For RJ.
I thought RJ's was a wooden one, but that's fine. It doesn't matter, really.
I did like this episode better than the others.
I did like the thing that they plucked out about the parks sign, basically. Save park
save
the people,
the park
the
from the
from
people,
the park.
save the people from the park, and save the people from the people.
People from the people.
People from the people, which plays out in all the various ways throughout this episode, essentially. It's whatever Anne has had to do for the CRM, what these people probably did for however long they were out there in the wild, like you prefer, Sharondy. But it's a greater theme for the CRM, saving the people from the people. The military people from the actual people.
I thought you meant like save the Park from the people because, well, people are dead. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. Checks that off. Save the people from
Because
the park
littering
because
and-
that idiot stepped into a snare. And then save the people from the
Right.
people because we've got to go stop
And
the
animals,
CRM.
come on, man. Well, and people getting into altercations, which could cause problems where you'd have to airlift somebody out in normal times, is what I'm saying. Or murdering
Or
other people or
stupid
whatever.
tourists that go in and push over million-year-old rock formations,
And threaten to harm people who are in the
carve their
park.
names into the rocks, and just stop it.
Well, and it's also the more common of all of these things is wildfires.
Yeah.
If you're not trained in
Only
lighting
you
a
can
campfire,
prevent wildfires.
don't do it. You're going to hurt other people. There's a little bit of cool, humorous breaks with it, with the people that they end up finding. And Red's red gun that keeps changing hands.
It looked like C-3PO's red arm.
It was a janky coloring too, but still,
He painted that with some Rust-Oleum.
It was nail polish.
it was nail polish.
It
It's another
was
world
well
beyond.
nail polish.
Some guys just left a whole bucket of this stuff in.
I like that they took the bullets out and threw them out into the woods. Oh,
Well, they threw them because they were letting them have the gun with the bullet.
Right.
That's
I
why
know.
they threw them.
Yeah, trying to give them a
leave
second
them one
chance.
bullet.
It's also symbolic of what Michonne says at the end of her departure from The Walking Dead. Why she spares Virgil. It's like, listen, I don't appreciate what you did, but I also appreciate what you did because it showed me that while you have breath, you can do good in this world. You can help people. When you can help people, you're healing the world. And that's what they're trying to do. There's also something more interesting that's going on here because I think they touched a little bit on season 6, the season 6 version of them.
The toothpaste and the breath mint thing, because that was what she asked him to find, and then he and Daryl
Right.
found the truck, which is because that's my favorite episode. Regardless of Rick and Michonne, that's not the part I like. It's the Jesus and Daryl and Rick.
With the Benny Hill soundtrack also. Anyway,
Knocking himself out with the truck door.
yeah, that's your entry point into transporting you back to that season. Because what else happens in that season? I was reminded of that discussion with Ben that we were talking about. Which episodes were it? 604 and 616? I think it was. We were comparing the two episodes. And one of the themes is you got to look after yourself. When you're in danger, you can try to save everybody, but you have to realize you can't. Sometimes you just have to save yourself. This is what Heath learns in the hardest way possible. But then you get to this episode in Towel, and it's like, all right, you're giving them all these chances so they can get you. And they themselves stepped in a snare. So there's just something bigger about that I feel like could be hit on a little bit. That maybe they're being a little reckless or having their second honeymoon and not really thinking about the dangers. And maybe they're, like you said, lucky. They're just walking between the raindrops for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe they should be more conscious of their surroundings.
Yeah, they should.
And people. Because that's a lesson they learned a long time ago.
It is. You're back together. You've had your celebration. That's great. But if you want to survive, you need to pay attention to what you're doing. But maybe they got comfortable.
Yeah, it's a reflection. I mean, and of course, these people are starving. And you know what? It goes to what that one guy said. I'm too hungry to really think out here. Things are getting harder day by day. And it's also like a bellwether for what people are going through out in the wild, too. We've said this across the seasons, too. We've said it just seems to get worse and worse for people who are still trying to make it on their own. We saw this with Maze in 10C, in the Aaron and Gabriel episode of all episodes.
Rick and Michonne had their whiskey scene, but I liked the Gabriel Aaron whiskey scene a lot more.
Oh, yeah, that's so much better.
No
Yeah,
Dwayne Jones whiskey in this one, just plain old Johnny Walker. That's one of my favorite episodes literally because of that scene. And I don't even like whiskey. I just love that scene.
And it doesn't hurt that it's a pre-apocalypse story that's being told on the part of Father Gabriel. As much as I don't like pre-apocalypse stories, come on, we're past a certain point where we can start talking about this stuff. Rick telling people about the farm and burning it all down to bring it back up again. I thought that was a cool thing that we didn't expect to get this far in. It's just the jump points, man, the jump points and where they have to go now. That's why I'm like, give me that next episode. When does Jesus meet Michonne and Rick? Is it the end of season 5 where he drops into their bedroom?
It's the very end of 610. They have sex or whatever, and then the next morning he's like, Rick, Michonne, we need to talk, and that's when it ends.
Okay, so Interestingly enough, we keep talking about Jesus in season 6, etc. But what does Jadis do? Morning, lovebirds! And they have a similar, they're not naked, but they have a similar reaction. There's an interesting nod there. And she had her day. The meaning of her name, it really means days of yore, but when you transliterated her name in the old French, remember a couple episodes prior? Already has a day is what you said. That
Jadis.
day is today. Her days were numbered.
If you like what you heard,
Head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawking-dead and give us 5 stars and an eggplant to let us know.
that's all you need to let us know
You really feel
that you love us.
Tell us you love
Or
us.
if you-
Tell us you didn't love us. Just
Tell us what we got right. Tell us what we got wrong.
Tell us your theory on the timeline.
If you want to donate, visit ko-fi.com/squawking-dead.
Or patreon.com/squawking-dead.
Yeah. And give us some money so we can do this forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, by the way, if you join the Whisperers tier or higher,
Yeah.
you get a t-shirt for free now. So
Yep.
if you do it for 3 months, that's right, suckers, free t-shirts. So take a gander at that. You can't follow this, Dave, because it's not as rehearsed as yours.
I'll synchronize it, don't worry. But consider following us for free on either Ko-fi or Patreon, because like this session, which would have been something you could attend for free, the schedule is only available on Ko-fi and Patreon. We don't post our schedules on social media, so consider following us for free because
Because we
awesome.
don't know our schedules either.
Surprise!
I did put this up the night before, which was an adequate amount of time to put up something. And if you feel so inclined to tip us, you can get the unedited episode recordings, the pre-squawk insights, or you can join a membership tier for as little as $1 a month and get Discord access along with tippers and get some stuff, like you said, for free. There's some slots in the Survivors tier, which means you can join with your camera and mic and show us what you've got along with us. I've been your host, David Cameo, and I was joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Burt, Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, and Bridget, ko-fi.com/punkybrewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER. I'm very much looking forward to the season finale. Hopefully it's not a series finale. Fingers crossed.
It's not.
It's not.
And until then, bye.
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 Bye. What do you call it when there's only one season of the Rick and Michonne show? A towel snap. It's so stupid. It just popped into my head.
She tried.
Listen, A for effort.
She tried.
I tried.